Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Mindfully Sorted. Hope you are enjoying our sessions as much as we are enjoying bringing up different interesting topics for you. So, today we have Dr. Sangeeta Goswami. Dr. Sangeeta has 25 years of rich experience as a counseling psychologist. She had started her first clinic in 1996 in Guwahati. She had worked with many government, semi government, corporate organizations, schools to help them in positive mental psychology. So, welcome, Dr. Sangeeta. So today
Thank
our topic is very interesting topic, and we both belong to Assam, and we can completely connect because a lot of people from Assam has been all around in the country as well as globally seeking for better opportunities. And today's topic are the dilemmas that we face in terms of being a long distance or a remote caregiver for our parents. We all care for our parents. We all want to give them the best of of the life that they have, and as they grow old they need more of our support, right? And that time being very far off, and when I say very far off, it's like being out of India, sometimes brings certain limitations. We can't reach out to them immediately, or we can't just travel overnight. They do not feel comfortable traveling for so long. And then starts those whole areas where we try to think that how can we help them more? Are we doing enough? Are they expecting more from me? And these dilemmas sometimes accentuates when we are clubbed with some other areas of problems that we face in life, or sometimes they are clubbed with certain situations like we have in COVID-19 where we are not able to travel. And we always are feeling like, oh, what if something happens? Will I be able to reach them on time to help them? And for bringing this discussion, making it to make it more meaningful, what we had done is we had done a small research to understand these dilemmas better from people who are staying abroad for many years, and many of them from the eastern region of India. And Dr. Sangeeta, let's start with the discussion today. Welcome to our platform.
you, Sharmishta. And absolutely happy to connect with you and feels more closer to home because you are also from Assam.
Thank you. So, let coming to the discussion directly. The first point that I would like to you to address is, like, we as in India or in some parts of Asia, we are more a collectivistic society. And then you have the individual society, which is more the Western world, is a more individualistic society. So, we definitely, people travel or people move because we have economic opportunities outside there. Now, and the world, or as a society also, we are changing more and more into the nuclear families. How do you think that these are all impacting some of the ways that we are thinking, or some of the ways that we are absorbing this whole situation?
Yeah, I think it's a very pertinent topic that you have actually taken up, because nowadays we have been seeing a lot of remote caregiving been happening right now. And especially when, as you are saying, that we are moving out from our homes for economic purposes, or maybe for better opportunities, or maybe it's just that it is a choice that we are making to move out and to explore ourselves more, right? There can be so many other creative opportunities that may also be coming towards us. And uh, we are in two different kind of worlds then. That is one world that we have left behind, and the other world that we are trying to get into and trying to adjust out there. And if you look at both the worlds, and if there's a comparison that you are trying to make here with the Indian way, or the Asian way of living and the Western way of living, yes, it's two different things. Because when we do cross-cultural counseling, we also need to understand those areas of work. And yes, in India, we do think a little more collectively because this is how we have been brought up. And so what happens, a lot of thinking that happens is more of community thinking that we do. Yeah? Vis-a-vis to the Western way, where it is little more individualistic, but not necessarily. It is also depending upon how modern you, in area that you are in, maybe. Because if you look at the semi-urban population also out there, you will see a similar kind of familial environment even out there. So if I'm looking from that perspective, coming back to India, what has happened is that we have been brought up with a lot of expectations around us as the social norms tells us to be so. Again, if I'm looking at it from the psychological viewpoint of growing up, you know there are different ages and stages that people grow up in, and when you're looking at that, each age and a stage of a person has got certain roles and responsibilities also to be played, right? So when you are automatically, when you have passed out from school, you are expected that you have got into the career building path, and that is the age that you will look forward to. And what has happened, if I'm reflecting to Indian scenario, from lot of smaller B grade cities, if you are looking at it, or smaller towns, there's always a sense that we want to do something more for our children, right? So that is why we always try to push them to go further and get better education, maybe get better jobs. And as parents, we are okay, we want to make that sacrifice to say that you may be away from us and we will still be fine, because we want you to have a better life than ours. And if you, even if you're looking at the Western, the people who have moved away, Indian people who have moved away from here, what are they trying to do for their children too? They are also trying to do the same. They're trying to put them in the best of schools. They're trying to give them the best of opportunities. And I think it's a very universal thing to say that, you know, I want to give you something that which I did not get it, right? So I think we're talking about all the opportunities here. So a lot of times, this kind of a idea of getting better opportunities, and that is where we move on. But what has also happened is that because we have the community feeling with us more so, we take that culture along with us when we are also moving away. Yeah? So because you can move away from the culture, but the culture will always remain with you, is it not? No? So, and that is why even when you look at it, even when you're away actually from your own home state or hometown, you want to celebrate those kind of moments of culture more so, because that brings you a sense of belongingness somewhere. And so definitely there, so we keep on, so a lot of people who have gone out, they always have that mindset that maybe this is a temporary phase and I will come back.
Right, right.
And one thing leads to the other, and then you're getting better opportunities, they are settling down, and then finally that one day you see that you talk about the cost benefit analysis as to what is going to happen. Now I have got kids also, will my kids be able to actually adjust, go back and adjust to the kind of lifestyle that we have here? So a lot of push and pull keeps on happening, and the push and pull also comes from the parents too, because the parents, they feel that as they, maybe their physical strength is going down, as they are getting older, they feel a little more insecure, and they again want them to come back to. And so I think that kind of an oscillation for a primary caregiver keeps on happening. And finally, we do see a lot of stress which comes in. And it is not often talked about, is what we call as caregiver burnout.
Right. Very interesting. And I think, what are some of the dilemmas that you hear about, and when people are not able to be then immediate caregiver, or because of the limitations that they have, because they stay too far and they are doing having a great career or are married abroad. So what are some of the common dilemmas that you hear from people who come to you?
See, I think one of the major dilemma is that whether I'm doing enough for the parents, because you want to be there for the significant moments of their life, and the biggest fear is about death. though we in most Indian communities we do not talk about that per se in families, but it is like an unsaid thing that you do so many things because you are still trying to be with them, so that when they come closer to the death part of it, maybe you can be there with them. So, the caregiver's guilt comes in a lot out here. Then also you also make a lot of choices of whether I want to go beyond a particular area or not of my work, because do I want to take more responsibility? Do I need to move further away? All these kind of geographical and financial decisions that you are taking is again related to vis-a-vis, how much I can afford to do, or how do I take care of my parents. So the anxiety, that the guilt which is out there, I think this is all related to it. And those kind of areas again brings us to the idea of how do I see myself as a caregiver? How much do I give to them? What is the kind of level that I can provide to? And most of the time, we just overcompensate and just give it to them as to what we can do right now, because we feel that maybe that will be enough to cover up the physical absence that is there with them.
Right, right. Very interesting.
Shamishta, when someone goes to a new place, and especially if you're moving to a Western country, or maybe any place apart from India also, and also sometime in India, there is different stages that a person goes through in regard to adjustments of how they are going to get into and fit into the community and the society. So when you first go in, you go in with a lot of enthusiasm, and you want to accept what is coming up for you, what is new for you, because you want to embrace that, and because you have made a choice to go. It has not been forced on you in some way, because you made a choice to go. Then gradually, as you see the differences coming up about how you want to think, or the way they think, so then a lot of doubt and reservation also comes in. You are trying to adjust. You're trying to have certain reservations about basically how we have our myths and facts around our perceptions about who people are and what they are like. So our perception about our attitude towards them, the attitude towards ourselves, and how they are also looking at us. So all those kind of doubts and reservations also come in. Then, which may sometimes set as a resentment or criticism at some point of time, and may not be, but this is also one of the part of the stages that happens. And gradually, you move into the phase where you are gradually adjusting to the whole situation. You are getting acclimatized to the kind of social norm that is expected by them now, and gradually leaving your own behind. And basically then you get into the stage of accommodating and basically evaluating your life, and then and also justifying that yes, maybe it is a good choice that I made, and it is okay. I'm not getting everything, but of course you lose some, you get some. It comes to that. So sometimes we also feel bitter because when if you are the person who has moved out, and you have most probably done well for yourself, maybe financially you're better off than some, or maybe your siblings who are here in India or in some other place, and you feel that every time I have to be the person who is taking the financial burden, which of course is not fair on anybody. Definitely so. Just and so so the feeling of being taken for granted also may come in here. huh?
Right.
That oh, every time am I the ATM for you? I cannot be. But then this is the way, maybe that is how I must have started compensating, and it has must have moved down accordingly. So what has happened, so sometimes anticipatory anger may come in because of that, the expectations. But the fear of getting bad news is always there. You know, my sister, she lives in London, and you know, I did not understand that till the time she expressed it to me, because sometimes even if I want to call her up very late at night at her time zone, I give her a call, just because I just want to share something maybe. And she just, the and it was around, I think, past 12 at her time. And she just, the first thing she told me, Kun Morile, who died? Then I said, no, nobody died, They said, why are you calling me up late? So you see, that was her fear. And because at that point of time, our dad was not well, and that was most probably at the back of her mind. So I think then I realized, I said, I'm so sorry, next time maybe we didn't have much of, WhatsApp then. So I said, yeah, I will be a little more careful about the time zones, And but it made me realize that this is what we actually are looking for. We are actually very afraid that maybe we'll be getting more bad news than good news from the other end of the phone call.
Right. I think you have very nicely described everything that we probably hear from everyone around. And what is more scared of? Yes, definitely the health part is something that people are more worried about than anything else. They want to be, like you said, they want to overcompensate and want to be the primary caregiver in terms of being there. And when they also realize that they have limitations and boundaries to that, they probably start feeling guilty, and then the whole aspects of burnout and everything comes in, kicks in from there. And do you think that it is different from when it comes to gender? Is there expectation more from a daughter or son in terms of these terms? Because generally what I have seen and studied is that women feel more guilty and responsible as caregivers to their entire family, whether it's to the immediate family or to any of the extended families. So their feeling of anxiety and guilt might be a little more in women, is what the research said, but not necessarily it's a well-proven research. But there are different changes. But do you see that there is a trend of difference?
I think it is more of a perceived concept, of how it has been perceived by the society and how you perceive it for yourself, right? And because usually we say that women have got more empathy, they are better caregivers, and that is why you take that position, by omission rather than commission, So, and so what happens is that maybe the child will be providing the finances, and the female child will be, providing the kind of, hands-on care that is required. So that is what is expected. But again, it is to be understood the kind of family that you come from, and whether you have a sibling or not. Number one, there are also families where there's a only girl child, and she has to take that role, irrespective of gender, maybe. Is it not? So I think as a child, if you were able to make them understand that what is more important is that who is providing for them and who's taking care of them, and that's enough. Not necessary that we have also. I have also seen the families where the male child is more empathetic, and he is more closer to the parents and giving more emotional support than the girl child also.
Right, right. Because we all, as we grow as adults, have our own shapes and forms to take when it comes to emotional bonding.
Absolutely.
Right. Very interesting points, Dr. Sangeeta, and that brings to the core of the discussion, that what are my coping mechanisms? What should I do when I feel those dilemmas, when I feel those challenges? And especially in this COVID time, there are situations when I feel more anxious about this, because even if something happens, I don't know how to reach out. or if I'm in
Right.
US or Germany, coming to India is not so easy at this situation. So
Exactly.
how do you think that, what should I do about it?
I see. Yes, Sharmishta, I think as it is, it has been challenging, and more so with COVID coming in, it has become more so. And a few pointers that maybe I can share with you is that one is that you know if you have decided to go out and make a life for yourself, this is a choice that you have made, right? So accept and acknowledge that. That's number one. That you need to accept and acknowledge to say that yes, I have made a choice, and I can create a life of my own. Then the other thing is that when we are talking about how much do I need to give to my parents, because you also have to understand that we are trying to create our own identity also here, right? So how much I'm going to give of my time and my focus and priority to my parents, and how much I'm going to keep for myself. Because if you have a family of your own, so that is your primary family right now, and you have to prioritize that too. You have to give them the quality time that they require. So you just cannot keep on giving quality time to your parents. That is one part of you only, right? The third thing is, which comes to the point, is that of self-care. Self-care is very, very important here. When I'm saying self-care, I'm more talking about self-compassion. To understand and empathize with yourself that I'm going through this kind of a dilemma or a challenge, and I need to understand that it is okay. No, I may become anxious at times. I may have that guilt, but that does not mean that I need to all the time overcompensate for that. I don't need to do so. So, as I said, it's important to have your support systems in place now. You need to have your inner circle, putting it down. And you also need to see that when you are expressing your emotions, and if you're not, please express them, because again, that will have your psychosomatic problems may come in otherwise. So expressing your emotions is very important. And if you feel it is so very overwhelming, it is very important also to seek professional help for that. So your professional help is not something that will make you feel that it's a sign of weakness. It's not a vulnerability word for you. It is to just accept that yes, a lot of times we need somebody to talk to, a sounding board. And sometimes a lot of people who talk to me from abroad, they know what they need to do. But as you said, sometimes language is itself, speaking the same language can be very comforting for the other person. Because I will be able to understand the nuances of that language. When they are talking to me. So they said, I just need you to Baidu to understand and to just listen to me. Maybe I know what I need to do, but I just need to share it and let it out. And so that itself becomes very helpful. Coming to how we need to also understand that our parents are there, we are responsible for them, but that cannot be our whole life. And so it's important to empower them too, and to understand that we need to draw boundaries with them, you know, because they also have their own life. They have their own set pattern of how they want to lead their life. So you may think that no, this is maybe I can help and modify and make it better for them, but it is not necessary so. So it's more important to say, to think, and to find out from them, are you comfortable? If you're comfortable, it is okay. So I will rather say that, if it is not broken, don't break it. Keep it as it is and let it go ahead. And you also need to tell them that, I also have certain responsibilities, and I also need to look after my family and myself too. And to do so, when you empower, so that brings to the last point, as I said, about communication. So I talked about to you in regard to accepting and acknowledging that it is a choice for you. I talked about self-care. I talked about not overcompensating. I talked about the boundaries, and I talked about empowering your parents, and all that you can do through effective communication. And prioritizing and giving them rather quality time than quantity time, because this is the best you can do for them. Also because technology has come in, we are still closer, we can still stay connected to a large extent now, which was also not there earlier. So that is so. But then, so now what is happening is that a lot of times we do not understand from the parents' perspective, and we feel that it is only important for us to think that if we provide for them, that is enough. But I think the major concern is the emotional and the social support that they will seek. And this is what is something is very worrying, because I have seen a lot of because as you said, now if there's a health problem, of course, there may be some people who can still take you to the hospital, but to just to talk, to listen to you about your fear, your anxiety, I don't think there's anybody here now. And so there is a lot of insecurity which is also happening with the parents here. And also to understand, the caregivers who are supporting the parents here. It may be, your other siblings. Suppose you are two in the family, one has gone abroad, one may be here, and nobody actually really thinks about the child who is actually looking after the parents here, you know because it is like you are on call 24/7. You do not actually, we underestimate the role that has been played by the sibling who is actually here, with them. And so sometimes a lot of bitterness also happens to them at their end too. That, okay, all right, you provide the money and that's all. But actually I am doing in kind. I may not be providing the money, but I'm actually looking after them. So I think as families also, we need to also appreciate each other a lot, just to acknowledge, accept and acknowledge that yes, you are doing this much, and I really appreciate you for that. I think this is something that it gets missed out at times.
Right, right. I think these are very, very interesting points, Dr. Sangeeta. And I think with that, if one of the things that I will leave my audience with, that if you have any questions, you can write directly to us, contact@mindfully.in, because we will try to answer you individually. If you have any questions with Dr. Sangeeta, you can always write to us, and we will reach out to her to find those and seek those answers. You can also book a session with Dr. Sangeeta, and for that same, again, you can either visit www.mindfully.in, or you can write to us directly at contact@mindfully.in, because this is where we will be able to connect you to Dr. Sangeeta from wherever you are, talk about things that probably are there on your mind, you are bothered about, or you're thinking about. Because sometimes just talking, and as Dr. Sangeeta said, just talking and just listening, someone having to listen, having who can listen to you non-judgmentally can definitely make a whole lot of difference. As Dr. Sangeeta just said, that there are choices that we all made, there are choices that our parents made, there are choices that our siblings are making, our children will make. So I think it's over a generation. As a human being, we have been moving around. That's the history of mankind, and just managing and holding on all together can make the best of the situation and strengthen our relationship. Thank you so much, Dr. Sangeeta, so for being with
Thank
us.
you so much.
And I think this was a wonderful discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Sharmishta. Thank you.